from New Jersey, the capital of history and inflation of Forgotten Die. This is hereliesmetal, the podcast that brings you the origins, history, and culture of everything metal. Once again, I am Maledictus.
And I am Samantha.
And we shall be your overlords for today and all of eternity. Welcome. What are we doing today?
Well, finally, the day we had been waiting for has come, where Psycho Las Vegas 2021, the festival we have been waiting to attend since September of 2019 when we bought tickets for it.
It was a long time ago.
We now know final lineup, who's going to be here, who dropped off. And I will say, the big reason we bought tickets, out, Merciful Fate.
Yeah, I think that was kind of expected ultimately. I mean, that was the talk
we did expect that because I think they dropped off some of their big Europe festival, but the hope was maybe, a Europe festival would have a harder time. And King Diamond lives in Texas, so he could maybe do this one, but no.
Yeah, it was kind of, people weren't terribly surprised. They were like,
wasn't surprised, but let's
soldier on.
They did promise to come for 2022.
Okay, I was wondering about it. I was like, did they promise? Can they actually do that?
They did say that.
Right,
so
cool. We'll take it.
All right. Also out, the old man band Blue Oyster Cult.
You just mentioned that today, and I didn't even notice it.
Weren't that excited?
Yeah, I was like, all right. I mean, I like Blue Oyster Cult. They're one of the greatest bands ever. But have an old man Blue Oyster Cult, they're okay.
All right. Band I remember from 15 years ago, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club.
Kind of like Boomer Band.
No, they're like a garage rock.
Oh, really? I wasn't familiar with them. I just picture a bunch of old guys, like biker guys, that drink a lot of beer.
No, it was ironic.
That wear vests.
The name is ironic.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
I think. I don't know. I wasn't into them.
I didn't know.
We're just going over the big drops. Warpaint, I think that was like an indie band. Okay. But they were one of the top billed bands. Blonde Redhead, another indie band, old school indie band.
Yeah, I remember them.
Ulver. I'm sure a lot of people were interested in seeing.
We were talking about them, right? That's one of those kind of.
They're kind of like old school black metal, but they're very much doing what they want now. They're more like electronic.
Right, they're a band that's really changed. I remember you showed them to me, and I was like, this is a very eclectic career path.
So might have been interesting, but they're I think Norwegian. Okay, Catatonia, Swedish, probably hard to get here. Yeah. At the Gates, also Swedish.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are excited for that. Wolves on the Throne Room. I'm actually not sure where they're from or know why they might be coming. Boris.
This is probably the third time I'm not getting to see Boris. I've almost seen Boris 3 times, and something has happened every time. So whatever.
Windhand.
Oh, that's because Doom is done with, so we don't need.
No, that's not true. We'll talk about that later.
We don't need Windhand.
We'll talk about the Doom, the status of Doom. Who knows why Windhand couldn't come? I don't know where they're from here.
They weren't invited anymore.
I'm sure they were not disinvited. They could not come. Bombers, which is a Both's Motorhead cover band.
Oh, thank God.
I wanted to see that.
Oh, he can go to hell.
For entertainment.
That fucker could go to hell.
Why do you have a problem with it?
Because remember at the show, these fans were obnoxious.
That wasn't his fault.
It was his fault because he was so drunk, and then the next night
that was happening before he even got on stage.
Right,
that guy was being an asshole.
He really kind of.
He did not do anything. No, he didn't.
And then a week later, he was in Argentina.
It wasn't a week later.
So drunk.
It was 6 months later.
It was a few days later, and he was so drunk they beat him up in Argentina. He's got
a problem.
Yeah, he sure does.
Having one shitty fan is not his problem.
He's got a lot of problems.
All right. Also, our local comedy troupe, 2 Minutes to Late Night, will not be reprising their set from last year.
That was kind of
Well, I follow their social media.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, but
whatever.
I like what he does.
Okay, who's in?
So there's
we have replacements.
Added. So they moved a couple of things around. So they moved down was kind of a secondary. Now down is a headliner.
That's honestly a big disappointment.
Yeah, I don't like.
It's you're gonna remove fucking Merciful Fate, and you're just gonna promote one of the lower bands into a headliner slot.
Why couldn't we get Anthrax or something? I don't know.
Down is a band that people who like it are super into and consider it very important.
Down are they're like Pantera people that don't have Pantera in a way. They're
like relaxing Pantera fans.
They're a weird bunch because I follow one of their things on Facebook. They're just a weird, very juvenile bunch of people, and I'm not shit talking down people, but the ones on the Facebook side are just very like juvenile.
But Down is just nowhere near on the level of Merciful Fate, and not even of Danzig and Emperor. So I just...
As they say about Pantera, there's no need for Down in the year 2022. There is no need for Down.
But I would argue maybe one of the other bands they picked could have been the headliner instead. Let's keep going.
Okay. So Cannibal Corpse added. Okay,
I think that could be a headliner instead.
Cool. Cannibal Corpse.
I mean, it's not a big difference who's like at the top of the poster. It's just like during the set. And when you're actually at Psycho, it does not matter to you who is the headliner for the day. Yeah. Like you're going to a shit ton of sets, and it doesn't matter who's occupying the 8 o'clock slot on the main stage, or like more like the 9.
I hope Cannibal Corpse does the beach. That would be awesome. Cannibal Corpse. It's good to see Cannibal Corpse there. Very welcome. Very cool.
I don't know. I didn't really like the beach stage.
You don't like the beach? It's fun.
All right.
Thievery Corporation. What's that?
I don't know. Some kind of electronic thing. Okay. I recognize the name.
They're up on the tier, right? They're up, they're up there. They're all the way up there.
They're
on the tier.
A big deal. Yep. So, but they're definitely not metal.
They're way up there. So this is the current line of people. This is the official poster. What else? Exodus. Cool.
Exodus.
That's welcome.
Awesome.
Good to see Exodus. I've never got to see Exodus fully. I saw half of them opening for Slayer because I got there late at the Wellmont Theater. And another time,
cares.
I know. I was telling you another time I was supposed to cover them. I was supposed to shoot them, and then there was a shit ton of snow, and then it got canceled. So I never got to see Exodus. But I was about to cover them once. Now I was really looking forward to it. It was them and Municipal Waste, and it got fucking canceled by the snow. But yeah, so hopefully I'll get to see a full set of Exodus for once ever after since like 1980. You know. So GZA, now that's very interesting. That's the guy from the Wu-Tang Clan, Jizza. We call him Jizza, GZA. He's playing with a full band, which is cool. This should be very interesting. This is
the only hip hop act.
This is a very strange departure from
on the show, and I'm not sure they've ever had hip hop.
No, not that I'm aware of. Anyway, so
that's a pretty big name.
Yeah, it is. Maybe that's a replacement for the Old Man Band, right? Maybe they're gonna move, because that's like old. Come on, old guys are.
I don't know if he's older than Exodus.
Yeah, he's probably.
Maybe he's a contemporary.
He's around that. He's not a young guy. He's not a young guy for sure. But yeah,
I think Exodus is our oldest band.
Well, but you need like an old, sort of like a not like metal act. I don't know. See, I'm putting him in that slot. So, the OCs. Now the OCs are one of those cool kind of.
Everyone always talks about them, but I've never listened to them.
They're one of those like cool kind of retro-y kind of. There's a lot of like OCs kind of music this year, and we'll get into that. There's a lot of that going on this year. We'll get into the distribution later. High on Fire. So you as usual, Matt Pike's usually got to be there. He wasn't originally on the list, but now he is.
He found his way in.
Why
somehow.
not? Why not?
I'm sure he's like the first call when someone dropped off.
Him, and
Dixie Dave,
and Glenn Danzig. Well, him and Glenn Danzig seem to always be. Danzig has been there like for the 4 years in a row. I'm pretty sure, one way or another. So and pretty much Matt Pike has been too. This was like the first year Matt Pike wasn't supposed to be there, but they're like, "Hey, Matt, you want?" He's like, "Yeah, what the hell? I'm going crazy here in my house, making crazy videos of me blowing stuff up. I might as well go to Psycho and stop driving my wife crazy." So yeah, whatever. The Sword. The Sword.
They reunited, I guess.
Yeah, because they had broken up. They had stopped, and the guitarist got in trouble for something too. I don't know if I recall, it was a while ago. But anyway, I think you're back to normal now. Yeah, I have an issue with them, but anyway, they denied me a press pass once after it was confirmed. So
and he has held a grudge.
With the
ever
Sword
since.
They can go suck a fucking.
Because he got denied his press pass.
Yeah, by
probably their tour manager or whatever.
Yeah, but they're associated with it, so they can eat his shit. Okay, Dying Fetus. What's that? Dying Fetus.
Death metal.
Some
grindcore.
Okay. Red Fan. I've seen them once. They're like a fun mastodon. I don't know. They're like a fun clutch. Oh no, clutch. I guess clutch is kind of fun, but they're like a good time kind of bunch of old guys from Portland that never grew up and just play music. They are what they are. They're like Gen X music for Gen Xers. they're like stony music specifically for very miserable Gen Xers. I don't know. It just relates to that. They're like Clutch in a way, but very different in some ways. But they fit in that same, like, I wear
They're
cargo
in that
shorts.
bucket.
Yeah, I have a beard and I wear cargo shorts and I drink craft beer. That's like they would fit to that same clutch. They're a little cooler than Clutch, though. I would say they're a little bit cooler. If
I think so, but they're not cool.
No, but they're a little bit cooler than. They're a little bit less like when people like a lot of people when they hear Clutch they start laughing. You think of cargo
There's like
shorts.
a spectrum of like these kind of bands where it's like Clutch and Mastodon. I don't know why we're spending so much time talking about them. They're like in the middle.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Crippled Black Phoenix. What is that? What is a crippled
I'm
Black
not sure.
Phoenix?
More research is needed.
Okay. Fair enough. They're doing Cephalic Carnage. That
I
sounds.
believe that's some more grindcore.
That sounds like a very messy logo. That sounds like an unreadable logo. Weed Eater, they're back. They added Weed Eater at the last minute last time.
Yeah, they were a fill-in band last year or 2019.
For Riding Cries, I think. There, whatever, Weed Eater, he dicks the day of doing his thing. Full of Hell again. So when Full of Hell played last year, I think we were coming in from the Misfit show, and they were playing in the restaurant, right?
House of Blues,
and I was like, "What is that horrific sound?" And my wife was like, "That is Full of Hell." And I was like, "That is the most horrific thing I've ever heard in my life." And it was Full of Hell. And there wasn't a lot of people there.
We're going to go again.
Absolutely. There wasn't a lot of people there because most people were at the Misfits. So I think there would have been people in there if it wasn't for the Misfits. I don't think people hate Full of Hell.
It filled up when we got there.
It did.
People came from the Misfits.
Yeah, they wanted to see Full of Hell, I think. Full of Hell, by the way, when we saw that live thing, they had a really cool video. I thought that was kind of cool. They had the coolest video. Anyway, Primitive Man. That's another heavy.
That's another extremely punishing, sludgy kind of experiencing
pile of Sonic Terror.
That's some more Sonic Terror for sure.
Serious. They're the most Sonic Terror ever. Primitive Man. If you want,
they're not as. I don't think they're as terrifying as Full of Hell, but we're talking about very close, close degrees here of terror.
It's rough stuff.
Full of Hell. Primitive Man is much heavier.
Gotta have a lot of
than
patience
Full of Hell
for that stuff.
Primitive Man is like more hitting you with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, it's heavier. Like a lot of tuned down.
Yes.
There's a lot more noise effects in Full of Hell. Okay, so
yeah, but there was also, if you're watching this, you're planning to go.
Yeah.
But a lot of bands stuck on. What are we most excited to see? Would you say? I was very excited to see them at Exodus.
Yeah, for the big bands, I'd say Exodus. Obviously, we want to see Midnight. We're glad Midnight's still there. Obviously.
Yeah, like obviously very disappointed Merciful Fate is gone because that was
why we went.
Really the big draw.
We were like, oh my god, we're going to see Merciful Fate. This is the coolest thing ever. So hopefully that really stands that they play next year. I expect them to be there in 2022. No excuses.
But also happy to see stuff like Creeping Death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we've seen them before though.
Open for Hire and Fire, yeah, very cool.
But I don't know. I think I actually like this new lineup a little bit better. Yeah. But like,
I was just liked it where it was.
I'm also very excited to see Repulsion. You know,
I would have kind of looking forward to see an old man band.
Want to see Profanatica?
Yeah. I was looking forward to see a Blue Oyster Cult, and whatever they came up with.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see them, and be surprised.
I wanted to too, but
remember when I was thinking Arthur Brown wasn't going to be good, and then I was deadly mistaken. I was like, oh my god, he's awesome,
I don't know,
because I was expecting him to be he's going to be an old man act. He's not going to have it, and he had it way more than ever. So maybe Blue Oyster Cult. Well, I don't know. I could be wrong. I like being wrong.
Well, what are you most? So you're most excited to see Midnight?
Yeah, of course. They're the only band.
I mean, cool. They're definitely my favorite band on here, but we've also seen them a number of times.
In very small personal.
And we'll even
spaces.
see them again the month later after this.
Yes, it's always better to see Midnight in very small personal spaces, which is not going to be here. We're not probably.
So I wouldn't say I'm most excited to see Midnight.
Yeah,
just because of those.
Yeah, because it's going to be on it's probably going to be in the House of Blues or something. I would imagine, which is we're not going to be close to them. Oh,
I want to see Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah. Cannibal Corpse is always.
I guess I'm more excited to see the stuff we haven't really seen that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was one band that I was disappointed to see did not drop.
Ah, yes.
I don't know if we want to get into that.
Why don't we very quickly before we go into the graph?
Well, just as a thing, I remember last year there were some people complaining about the presence of Phil Anselmo with his whole, Heil Hitler
you thought he was
debacle, and whether he's a racist or whatever, and people being like, "Shut up!"
If you thought Phil was bad,
and I obviously don't support old guys being racist as jokes or whatever, even if it just don't be a dumbass, but I didn't really care if he was there. Like, I guess maybe I just don't see Phil and see someone who's truly a Nazi or truly hateful or whatever.
Right, he might have done one thing, but he's not associated.
He's probably
with,
just
like,
maybe dumb and maybe kind of ignorant
yes.
and like
he's not associated with Nazi bands.
Does not think about the consequence of his actions and things like that.
Exactly.
And like we went and saw and Minor, which wasn't great, but you know, and I can kind of put it in context. And there's a few other bands that have an issue like that, like Watain, Mayhem. I don't know about Satyricon if they have any crimes, but you know, they also have associations maybe a little bit more serious than Phil, who's also back this year.
As usual, he's another one that's been there for like, I don't know, every year so far.
But they definitely have some things people can bring up, definitely from the 90s.
Sure,
you know, they were in that you know, that whole second wave black metal Norwegian scene, which was not a great place.
As they used to say back in the 90s, dude, it's the 90s. That's what we used to say back then, because it wasn't the 80s anymore. So you'd be like, dude, you can't do that. It's the 90s.
But there's another band on, but I can also understand taking a stance similar to Phil, being like, okay, Emperor, by the way, Emperor, you know, foundational black metal band that was 30 years ago, or saying something like that. Again, I really don't condone
mayhem,
hate crimes.
Everyone that died was in mayhem. Come on, you know, like.
Well, no, the murderer, the guy who killed the gay guy, was an emperor.
Oh, he was an emperor. Okay, but mayhem, you know, obviously had the whole, you know, the whole thing.
And,
you know,
and mayhem had their own issues.
You know, the thing.
I think the crimes of mayhem are more related to some comments that Necro Butcher has made.
Yes.
And not really the whole Varg Euronymous thing.
Yeah, it's like that's
like
too,
I guess that's not associated so much with mayhem as so much as like they don't blame Varg's crimes on mayhem.
No. But you know, like you know.
But you know, like I can understand people being like willing to look past this ancient hate crime and are put it in context of like this totally different world of early 90s Norway.
Dude,
or like he hasn't been in the band for a long time, although I think he did play on a live stream with him recently. It's a complicated topic, and I think you definitely need to search within yourself for what you're comfortable with. But there is one band on here that I do not see a lot of that nuance with.
Who's that?
And it is Migwa.
MGTOW.
Yes, band. We call them the men going. It looks like the men. We see that name and we think men going their own way.
Men walking off cliffs.
But I think it's a real Polish word. I think it's pronounced Migwa.
Oh, it's not an acronym. It's a word.
We don't need to go into the details right now. I think that could be a whole other video if we so dare to make that as to. But I'm just going to say this. His associations with NSBM, aka National Socialist Black Metal, are much stronger than even the old implications of Emperor and Watain, and maybe I don't know about Satyricon and Mayhem. And you know, he's also much younger than those bands. He's had his own sketchy side projects. He has a very, very disturbing connection to a Nazi pedophile, and he's never he's had many chances to come out and be like, take his own stance and just be like, come out as like, I am not a racist, but it does not happen. And you know, he's not a foundational band. He's just making rip-off black metal. Like, he's not an important figure in the arts. Okay,
he should play a show at Dingbats.
He could play a show at Dingbats,
one of those festivals.
Yes.
It'd be fine. Everyone would like it.
So that one I think is beyond the pale, and I will definitely not go to that set, and it bothers me that it's there. Like I, you know, you can have a discussion about Emperor, but at the end of the day, I understand why they're there. But this, I do not understand why it's there.
Also, I know this joke is old, but they stole Midnight Style. Okay? They copied off the mask.
All right, I don't think that's funny because I think other people wear those masks.
I know,
but I will say
that's my old joke.
I think they also have the leather jackets.
Yeah, they have the bullets.
I will say though, that's a really dumb, simple look, and Midnight can wear it because it's a dumb, simple band.
Who did it first?
Well, it's actually they formed around the same time.
Who wore it first?
It's hard to say.
Style.
It's hard to say because I don't even know. Like,
I want to know.
You watch an old video of Midnight, he doesn't have the jacket on. Like, it's hard to say.
I want to interview these guys. I want to interview the guy from Midnight. I'd be like,
all right,
who wore it first?
It doesn't even matter because it's such a simple, dumb look, which is good for Midnight. But you can't play that
I
wearing
like when Midnight does
But you can't. Let me finish. But you can't wear it playing serious black metal. Leave that dumb look to Midnight.
Yeah,
like,
it works at Midnight, right?
I mean, I like the look. It's good.
Yeah, I like it.
But if you're playing black metal, you're supposed to put some fucking face paint on and some gauntlets and like some shit. You can't just go up there with the bag on your head and a leather jacket. Like that is too low budget for black metal.
It's the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. I'm gonna put that up. It's a stupid joke. I know it's old. Everyone here old. But anyway, so what else we have? So we have a chart to look at, right?
All right. Also, I feel like what comes up in discussion, I think it's interesting to talk about the breakdown of the bands on Psycho, just because, like, unlike the Desert Fest, the Doom Fest, the Death Fest, you know what that is. Like, they'll have a smattering of other like non-Doom or Death bands. But Psycho was always kind of like, it was like the craft beer cargo short guy festival.
For the longest time, yeah.
Of what they liked mainly.
For mostly, it started.
But
it's
been like changing.
Yeah, when it first started, it was like stoner. Back in the days when it was in California, it was, and Sam of course made this on.
I've done a quick run of the numbers.
Sam with her accounting skills and her spreadsheet skills
project.
Made this very useful corporate graph here. Now let's these are our 2021 projected genre streams.
We can't see at the bottom everything.
Oh,
there we go. That's good. So I have run the numbers, and this is what we're looking at for the breakdown of all the metal bands. I didn't go through. This does not include any of the non-metal bands. Also, just briefly, the festival is like half metal, only 50% metal. That's fine, but we have another like a 30%, 33% like non-metal rock music at least. So like, playing instruments.
That is a very rapidly growing sector for Psycho Corp and projected for 2022 and about in 2021.
About 10 to 15% non-metal,
the profit
like electronic stuff.
The profit margin is increasing, and these non-common sectors, these unpredictable sectors. So we look for more investment into these sectors in Psycho Corp for a successful fiscal year. As you can see, death metal here is our fastest growing sector for 2021. It's been our fastest growing sector for the past 2 fiscal years of Psycho Corp, and we expect a lot more growth in future Psycho Corp events.
How about our Danzig performance?
Now, Danzig is obviously considered Danzig like a blue chip stock of Psycho Corp. Danzig has been a consistent contributor for Psycho Corp for the past 4 years in one way or another. I believe Danzig has had a presence in our organization and in our corporate culture for a very long time, and it's consistent. For us, Danzig is, as you projected here, as you has proposed here, is his own sector of he's basically his own genre. It's Danzig, whether that's the Misfits or it's Danzig, you could all put it under there. He's a stable, sound investment, and his growth isn't exponential like that of death metal. However, it's consistent and a safe bet.
Well, we have a very high profit margin on Danzig, which is why we can get away with such low volume. The death metal, we're going more for quantity.
Yes, and
all right. But jokes aside, I think we did a discussion on the breakdown back on the original 2020 lineup, and it was mostly it felt like the black metal was heavier.
Yeah,
but a lot of the bands they added were death metal. And I think it's particularly grindcore.
Yeah.
And this is now mostly death metal. I mean, not mostly, but they added stoner bands too. Like we were talking about how few stoner doom, like kind of like the typical like what is Psycho Fest for, like mainly stoner doom
when it first started. Yes.
And it really didn't feel like that with the original 2020 lineup. But I think we're kind of moving back and getting more stoner doom. But also a lot of death metal. And there was I think the only death metal on 2019 was Tomb Mold.
I think we're getting a different kind of stoner doom. We're not getting like the usual giants in it anymore. We're not getting the Electric Wizards. We're not getting the Sleeps. We're not getting things like that. I mean, obviously we got High and Fire back in there, but that was really just kind of like a replacement thing. I think with our current market projections for the future, I think stoner doom is on the decline.
Well, okay, yeah, I will say that
for Psycho and for music in general.
Of the big bands, a lot of them are actually in the rock or even the non-rock.
There's a lot of that too. There's a lot of
the non-rock, like two of the biggest names, Thievery Corporation and GZA, and also Flaming Lips.
There's a much bigger emphasis on diversity, and that's been happening for the past 3 years, I would say. We're getting a lot more. I think
we have very. I think the biggest like totally non-metal band last 2019 was Beach House.
There's a Beach House, yeah.
So
now
that's
we
not
have
huge.
Flaming Lips, which is huge, which is a tremendous band.
I don't know. I don't care. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think it's I think you can definitely tell death metal is on the rise and it's finally being reflected. I think it should have reflected in 2019, but it's finally being reflected at Psychofest.
And I think the stoner doom, especially we're getting a lot more sort of stoner bands now as opposed to doom bands. I would call most of these bands stoner bands, not really hard dark doom bands. I think
only Chemists.
Only maybe Chemists is a very different kind. I'm very reluctant to really put them in that, but if you want to put them in there, that's fine.
They're not doom, and I don't know what they are.
But we're not getting electric. We're not getting a Winded this time, and those are more darker. Where suppose you compare that with the Sword or with Red Fang, those are more good time stoner bands. They're a different kind. They're on the stoner side. Remember the stoner versus doom scale side of it. They're more on the stoner side. Obviously, they're not very doomy, not very dark. But I think in general, doom has been on decline since like 2018. Ever since Sleep came out with their album after 20 years, there's no need for doom anymore.
We've progressed.
Yeah, we've progressed beyond, and it'll come back. But not right now. But right now, people wanted something more extreme, something with a lot more energy, something heavier, something faster, and that's where death metal and black metal have come in. You're getting a lot of
You know what I wish they would do, which I think would go totally well at Psycho, is more heavy metal.
Yes.
More traditional, new wave of traditional heavy metal.
Because there's so many cool bands out there that they can add.
I think it goes well with kind of like that good time vibe that I think Psycho goes with. Not these fucking second wave Norwegian bands. Like, that does not fit.
There hasn't been one.
I think in the vibe of Psycho. I think these traditional heavy metal bands would.
I think people would love it. It would be a huge hit. And there's so many bands, right? There's a lot of them we reviewed. There's so many bands that you could put in there. You could fill 10 of them easily.
But I think there's someone up at the top at Psycho just doesn't like it.
Yeah, he's like, no, that's cheap. Like it'll be a huge hit. It'll be the fastest growth sector if you were to introduce that proposition.
Just take out some of those
into our business model.
Desert rock bands.
Yes, because they're boring. Because there's a couple of them in the lower tiers, a couple of and if you're stoned and you're like, I got nothing, I'm just going to sit here on the beach. Well, no, I don't think those bands are going to play on the beach. Honestly, they're probably going to play in the casino because they're kind of easy to, they're kind of background music. And I like the way they play and stuff, but I don't want to sit there and listen to that. Like,
I think if we were a different kind of festival goer, where we're high on acid and we don't even care where we go, that's fine. That's probably a good time.
If I'm in the casino just drinking a beer or something, and they're in the background, that's fine too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's for.
Because your background music, that's all you are. You're not going to put Exodus in the casino. You're not going to put Cannibal Corpse in the casino. You're going to, we want to
those
see
guys
a
are
show.
Obviously on the main stage.
Yeah, you want to see a show. Yeah, I think Cannibal Corpse is the main stage. Yeah,
but I don't know. I'm more excited with some of the announcements.
Yeah,
I wasn't too sad to see stuff like Catatonia drop off and stuff like that. And I mean, I was fine with them, but I mean, I would rather have Exodus and Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, I'm glad we have an Exodus. I'm glad we're doing that.
Yeah, it's nice. They don't really have a lot of thrash. It was really just classic Power Trip last year.
Yeah, well, we had we also had Violence last year, which was cool.
Yeah,
I was happy to see Violence. That was very cool.
All right, but obviously we'll do a more in-depth thing because we're fucking nerds, and
we'll get into more of our plans for this when we get an official schedule. Obviously, we'll do a part 2 of this. This will continue, maybe even a part 3 if needed. So we'll keep talking about it because obviously this is major news in our world and possibly your world, and hopefully we'll see you there, and you could see me in person and throw things at me or try to drown me in the pool. But otherwise, I hope to see you all there. And we'll talk more about this. So thank you for anything else?
Nope.
Okay. So thank you for watching our psychoanalysis episode. And be sure to follow us on social media, including Twitter at Here Lies Metal. Samantha posts a lot of things on Twitter, so listen to her because she has lots of interesting things to say that you all love. Facebook, Here Lies Metal. You guys are always looking at that. I always see new subscribers there every day. Very good, guys. Message me if you want to talk about something. If you have something kind of music to show me, go ahead. Instagram, Metalize Here, and Gmail, hereliesmetal@gmail.com. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this episode a thumbs up, and ring that bell. Thank you again for watching this episode, and we'll see you again with another news episode or another review very soon.